Everyone, please welcome Lucas. Thank you, Lucas, for participating in our summit. Please have a seat. Let's have a fun chat. I get to do the best panel, the one that mixes sports with business. I don't know if you guys had known Lucas from before, but he's an extremely accomplished in everything he does in life. As the video could tell you, he built a beautiful career going to Formula One. He's going to tell us about it. Formula E, he organizes a leading climate conference. He's going to talk about that too. He's very involved in climate investing and innovation in this space. He's a triathlete. Everything Lucas does is with intensity, and we want to talk about a little bit about that too, Lucas, today. So maybe we can start with your journey from like a guy in São Paulo who was, having fun with go-karts all the way to Formula One.
Well, first, I wish my wife was in the audience today after all these compliments, really. It's a pleasure being here. Good afternoon to everyone. It's honor. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for hosting me here. I am from São Paulo. I was born and raised here, and I started my career in go-karting. Like, if you want to be a professional racing driver, you have to start in go-karting, then you go to Formula 4, Formula 3, Formula 2. All of these categories, it consumes money. So either you have to sell yourself, almost like a startup of yourself. Since a very young age, you have to go to sponsors, you have to go to companies saying, look, I'm going to be the next world champion, please sponsor me, because it's very expensive. And after, when you reach Formula 2, you have a few ways you can go to become a professional driver. You can go to IndyCar, you can go to Formula 1, you can go to Formula E now. And I went to Formula 1 for a few years. I did my time there, then I did endurance racing, which is like long 24 hours of Le Mans and so on. And
there are a lot of founders here. In that process of raising money,
yeah,
how many no's you got?
Nearly 100%, yeah.
Who are the crazy people that said, I'll help you?
I have a very few, I can count on my hand, of people that supported me through my career before reaching a certain status. A bit like most of startups. Before you rise to a certain level, you receive 99% of no's, and you have a few people opening doors here and there and help my career. But mainly it was my family at the very beginning. Motorsport's an expensive sport. And then very early on my career, I managed to, when I joined Formula 3, and I was actually studying INSPER here in São Paulo, I had an opportunity to go and race in Formula 3 like a trainee of a Formula 1 team. That was Renault F1 back when Alonso was world champion. So I joined them as Formula 3, and they financed my career. But every year I had to have a result so they could finance the year after. But racing, including a lot of people that you think make money racing, what they do is they sell themselves. Even the case of Perez in F1, good friend of mine, all his career is money coming from Mexico, sponsoring the team, Telcel, Claro, Interprotección, and so on, and he takes a net commission out of that sponsorship for the team as his salary. So racing is, let's say, the return over investment in a racing car driver is probably the worst investment you can do in your life.
Very interesting. In motorsports, was the first that you saw an intersection between business and car racing. Why is that the case? Can you explore a little bit the history there?
So why the business of motorsport is so interesting? Motorsport is at the edge of knowledge, is at the edge of technology, is a laboratory for new technologies to be developed in a very competitive environment, and those technologies will dictate or will lead to a much better commercial product. So why, okay, there is branding as well, but I'm talking about the R&D part. Why Porsche has made its name in racing, why Ferrari and so on. Because you're developing high-end products or even technologies that will go to the commercial vehicle. For example, brake discs, the disc brake in your car, started in racing. Even seat belts, even actually mirrors, the side mirrors that was invented in racing, and then lately put in the car. And in the 70s, 80s, Formula One was leading this way with combustion engines. And we saw an opportunity back in 2011, 2012, that with the electrification of mobility, there was a gap to create a Formula One electric. And that's how we created Formula E. I was the first employee. I didn't found it. It was not my idea, but I was the first employee and the first driver to commit. And then we built the business up and ended up selling to the same owners as Formula One a few years ago.
Let's switch gears a little bit to your conference. Can you tell us what you do, where you do it, how, who participates?
So the CEO of Zero Summit is here, is Mario, is sitting on the table there. And the idea started in 2019 with a few colleagues of mine from the Harvard Business School. We were discussing, and pretty much every discussion in the classroom led to some form of discussion on how to continue or improve the business, but at the same time being, let's say, environmentally consciousness in a pragmatic way. Not the greenwashing type of things we see, but how do you do your business but try to make it better and more efficient. And we wanted to do a conference about that, so we got the name and we start doing it. Now we've done it in London, Brazil many times, Saudi Arabia, gonna be Monaco very soon, so we're expanding. We are the nominator for the Earthshot Prize from Prince William in the UK. And our nomination of Startup of Brazil that we nominated 2 years ago actually won the global prize. And we were not lucky enough to invest in this one, but still it's very fulfilling for us to be able to take Latin American startups on this segment and promote them worldwide. That's the purpose of the summit.
Switching gears to hydrogen cars and hydrogen energy. Do you believe in it or not? What are the challenges of it?
There is a lot of talks about hydrogen economy. I'm a very big skeptic of the hydrogen economy, and I tell you that because of my experience with cars. A hydrogen fuel cell car is an extremely complex way of not only storing energy, but transforming this energy into motion. And physics will tell you that the simplest and cheapest way of storing energy and converting it to motion will most likely lead the way on the long term. And even if the bottleneck today of batteries are something very tangible and very, I would say, the main problem we have is the bottleneck of batteries. The natural tendency is for batteries to become much cheaper to operate general purpose vehicles. Hydrogen will have its niche, maybe in aeroplanes, maybe in eVTOLs, and some other applications which require a lot of energy but very low weight. But the complexity of the fuel cell and the physics behind it make it almost impossible and extremely energy inefficient to run a vehicle with hydrogen. So I don't believe that will be the case for the future.
But you do believe Brazil has a major role to play in clean tech. Can you tell us your views on that?
Yes. I haven't lived in Brazil for the past 15 years, but I'm Brazilian and I love this country, and I think we are extremely well positioned to lead the world in clean energy in many different ways. One of our advantages is the geographical positioning of Brazil. We have sun and water, and therefore we can convert a lot of our plantations into biofuel. So ethanol will play, for me, the most important role in producing sustainable aviation fuels, because the infrastructure is there for the fuel. It's much cheaper than e-fuels. I don't know if you are aware, but Chile is producing e-fuels from renewable energy, but a synthetic way of producing fuels. So biofuel is much cheaper, it's much more usable in Brazil. Then our energy matrix is already 85% renewable from hydro and solar and wind, growing massively in the last few years. And this will allow us, so being so green at this stage of energy production is the target of the European Union or even Germany in 2050, and we are today. So if we are conscious enough about using this in our favor, we can produce low carbon steel, we can produce low carbon goods, we can use this potential of Brazil of geographical space to convert large areas into electricity via solar or biofuel, and use that to shape mobility and energy storage of low carbon worldwide. And it's something that US cannot do, or can do it much less than us. Canada cannot do, geographically they don't have sun. Europe can do, the only way is nuclear at this stage. So Brazil is actually very well positioned, and if the government doesn't harm us so much, I think Brazil can thrive on this economy.
You're a prolific investor in startups. Can you tell us the story of your favorite one?
That's a good one. I think one of my favorite ones, I don't know if it's going to be the one that gives me better return, but one of the ones I like the most is that there was a bunch of guys doing the autonomous car technology that you just saw there. And back in 2017, they came to me and said, Lucas, we can use autonomous car technology, which is basically computer vision, to embed into a device that can help blind people to navigate the world. So we are creating an autonomous car for a blind person, for a vision impaired person. And I gave the go ahead, I invested some capital, we helped with the connections, and the company went to win many awards, many grants. The product has been on the market now for a few years. The company is doing so well, but most of it is a very interesting process of converging technologies, because the chip, the sensors, everything was getting so much cheaper at that time, and now it's much cheaper, but even the processing capacity now is 10 to 50 times what it was back then. But the converging technologies allowed us to put the camera, the ultrasonic radars, ultrasonic sensors, and everything on the vision impaired person forehead, and with voice communication help the person to navigate the world. So you could, in this very room, you could a blind person could say, "Take me to the toilet," and it will navigate around the tables with computer vision and take you to the toilet. So it's at the same time fulfilling, at the same time a technology that we were developing for cars and transferred directly to make society better.
Lucas, there's something unique about you. You're a competitive guy. You had to compete to get to the Formula One. Not easy thing to do whatsoever. And yet you're extremely curious. Can you tell us personally where that curiosity comes from and why is it so essential for you?
Well, I come from a house of engineers. My father is an engineer, created a very successful company in the defense industry here in Brazil. older brother is an engineer, so I was raised since very young to try to solve problems. And actually a sport is actually solving a problem, like racing. How do you make the car faster? Do you make the car lighter? Do you make the car, you optimize the aerodynamic pitch of the car to create the best setting for the car? So I wasn't the most talented driver for sure, but I was the one that always looked for the finer detail on my race car to make it slightly faster here and slightly faster there. And while all the other drivers, they were either playing or doing something else, and they were more talented than I was like, no, I need to close this part 1 millimeter, doing that another millimeter. And I think this curiosity led me to try to understand how the world works better and how to solve these problems. And I think entrepreneurship in the end is trying to solve problems and create value for society. So it is very analogous to what we do in racing. And if I could, in my second stage of my life after I stopped racing, do something like that, at least even in a small scale, I'll be more than happy.
Let's go off script.
Okay.
He's like, oh. There must be something in the water of your home, how your dad raised you, how you were treated as a kid, that made you the way you are today. If you reflect back on that, what is it?
Well, I am a father now. I have 2 young kids at home, and being a father or being a parent is extremely hard. I guess you can have this, a lot of people can have this analogy. And I had a very stable family. I had a very different mother and father, but in a way they allowed me to do a lot of the things I wanted, like try to push my curiosity. And I try to do the same with my son, especially currently in the technology age that we are. I think everybody has a problem with iPhone and iPads at home if you have a young kid. And then trying to rationalize and trying to motivate your kid to try to understand the world how the world works, and try to motivate your kid to try to solve problems from a young age. And I think that will lead to a great mindset of pretty much everybody here in this room have. We are privileged, we are in a very good position. Some of us came from nothing, others came from a good background, but in the end, if you have the mindset of trying to solve problems and to progress as a human being and as part of society, I think that's the purpose I want to pass to the next generation, because I got that from my parents.
So I was watching a commencement speech by Roger Federer.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that too?
Exactly. The last one, yes.
The one at Dartmouth. And he talks about the fact that he won 80% of the matches, but he only won 54% of the points. And you must have felt that all throughout your career. Setbacks, a race that doesn't go well, car crashes. How do you make that go away in your mind so that you can focus on the future?
Well, in tennis, my career is much worse than that. Statistics for sure. No, in racing it's much worse than this, because racing you win one race and then you don't win maybe 10 or 12, apart from Verstappen lately, but you don't win for many years if you are in a bad car. So how do you stay? I'm currently living this situation right now. I signed with a bad team. This year has been the worst year of my career, by far, the last 2 years. And although I'm beating my teammates, we are at the bottom of the championship. How do you stay motivated? Because as a driver, I'm heavy, so I need to be as light as possible, so I cannot eat. But I know that I have to be light and I have to work very hard and I have to go to every detail to try to be 10th or 12th in the next race, because my car is not good at the moment. It's a very hard battle against yourself. And the only thing I can think of is, the only thing I do to keep the focus is to put short-term goals. If you look at the faraway picture, it's too much of a road for you to accomplish. So I say to myself, how can I be slightly better tomorrow? What do I need to improve? So last race, what did I do wrong? What do I need to get better? And what do I need to do tomorrow to try to get better in this particular point? Or that next time I'm on the simulator, or next time I'm trying to communicate with my engineer about a certain problem of the car, or some mistake I did in the race, why I did that, how can I get better? So there is no magic. It's rationalize the problems you had, put short-term goals to try either to fix them or to get better at it, and then work every day like this, trying to do small steps. And it's the only way. If I try to, again, if we try to look too much of a long shot, it is impossible to motivate in the short term.
Very interesting. If you had to share kind of the principles that got you here in your life, what would be those principles? Totally off script, by the way.
No, I mean, who am I to tell this super successful room how do they have to behave? I can only tell for myself what I've done and why sport. I think sport is so beautiful, and I guess a lot of you play some competitive sport, either played or play today, and you know that the mindset of a sport and the mindset of a business to do competition, to be better than your competition, to be better, requires a lot of discipline, requires a lot of hard work, requires a lot of thinking, a lot of effort. There is no magic. This is the only way to be more successful, to try to, and the areas and the domains of knowledge that you don't have or you feel that you don't have, try to get this knowledge from somewhere else. Like, for example, either reading or nowadays listening to interesting podcasts to try to be ahead of the game of technology. So for example, if I want to understand if my next electric motor will be the most efficient one, I need to understand which technologies are being developed right now to then ask the lead engineer, so how are we doing with this technology, or understanding if another team is using this technology. So instead, trying to stay ahead of the game also on the technology, or at least updated on the technology and different domains of knowledge by trying to be maybe not so narrow on the business that you're doing, but trying to understand how this convergence of technology can improve your business or your sport.
Excellent. I want to thank you for the time today.
Thank you very much.
Your Valor is a friend now. You can use us for whatever you want. Call us, and we're happy to assist also. Thank you.
Thank you very much.